From the gridiron to hardwood and from the pitch to the track, join us for Sports Central, the most electrifying sports program on television every weekday from 11 a.m. to 12 noon on Spectrum Television. Sports Central, your home for sports.
Broadening your horizon is what every living being not only genuinely desires, but heartily pursues and intentionally invests in. For in the gathering of men, only those whose minds are in tune with the dynamics of the past, present, and future innovations, inventions, politics, and governance are respected. We are Spectrum Television, and broadening your horizon is our obsession. Risk on your decoder now to connect Spectrum Television on the frequency 12589, symbol rate 26250. That is frequency 12589, symbol rate 26250. Polarization horizontal, and join our online community at spectrumtvlive.ng. For further enquiries, please call 0704 158 5642 or 0704 541 7707. Spectrum Television, broadening your horizon.
Hello, good morning and welcome to an exciting edition of Sports Central, brought to you live and exclusive to Spectrum Television. Returning a day after we saw the Carabao Cup, a second round of matches across different venues. Manchester United, one of the talked about fixture we saw yesterday, they were bundled out of the Carabao Cup. We take a look at the next round of fixtures, with some Premier League teams also being part of it. We'll also look at other sporting events this particular morning. The US Open is still up and running. Carlos Alcaraz making the rounds. Of course, he was involved in a competition yesterday, and the man was able to advance to the third round of the US Open. Also look at the WTA scene, with actions also, of course, happening over there. We'll talk about the track and field conversation this morning, and we'll also look at the world of transfers as we're still counting down towards the end of the summer transfer window. as it has to do with European football. I am Mutumbe David and I'm so delighted to return this morning. We talk about all of these in fine stories. But first of all on the show, let's bring you updated with some big development making rounds in the world of sports. Welcome to the show. The conversation starts from the world of tennis, where Carlos Alcaraz raced to a convincing victory Wednesday in the U.S. Open second round, making a statement, while potential semi-final opponent Novak Djokovic continues searching for his A game. Unbroken through 2 matches, the second-seed Carlos Alcaraz downed Italian Matteo Berrettini 6-1, 6-4, 6-3, a far cry from his shocking exit last year to Botic van der Zalzen at the same stage. This time around, the Spaniard has been nearly flawless through his opening 2 matches. In contrast, his rival Djokovic has crept through to the 3rd round, needing 4 sets to get past Sha'Carri Svitzer earlier on Wednesday, after struggling physically in his opener against Leonard Tien following a 6-week break from the tour. The 2022 champion kept world number 65 Berrettini scrambling from the start, piling under pressure with aggressive baseline play to race through the opening set in just 30 minutes. It was Alcaraz's most decisive victory in terms of fewest games lost across his 17 completed matches at the US Open. The 5-time major champion, who is on an 8-match winning streak dating back to his title run at the Cincinnati Open, next faces 32nd seeded Italian Luciano Daderi, who beat American Wildcat Airlord Spirizzi 6-love, 7-6, 2-6, 6-4. It will be Alcaraz and Daderi's first ATP head-to-head clash. Away from that, defending champions Aryna Sabalenka set a platform for a US Open second-round victory over Polina Kudermetova by continuous formidable tie-break record. Sabalenka claimed her 17th consecutive tiebreak in a 7-6, 6-2 win in Wednesday's night session in New York. Being able to lock in when it mattered proved crucial once again for the world number 1, who has won 10 of her past 11 matches when winning her first set tiebreak. Taking the opener dampened her Russian opponent's spirits and led to Sabalenka's going on to break early in the second set. Sabalenka's service game was still a little scratchy, digging deep to serve 2 break points before holding for a 3-1, but her level improved as she raced towards victory. The win marks her 30th career main draw victory at the US Open. Sabalenka will face 2021 US Open finalist Leylah Fernandez in the next round of the competition. Away from that, now straight to the track and field, where Tobi Amusan withdraws from Diamond League final. The world record holder in the women's 100-meter hurdles has withdrawn from the final in this year's Diamond League in Zurich. The final Diamond League event of the year began in Zurich on Wednesday and climaxes today, with some of the world's best athletes jostling for a $50,000 prize money in top disciplines. Amusan qualified for the event as the second-best athlete in the discipline this season, amassing 27 points. She has, however, pulled out of the final and has been replaced by Bahamas' Devin Charlton. Amusan's withdrawal might be a break to be in shape for the World Championships, which takes place next month in Tokyo, after she seemed to have stumbled on the first hurdle during her last race in the Lucerne Diamond League, where she finished 5th in a time of 12.82 seconds. The National Sports Commission has confirmed that 6,382 athletes and officials will participate in the 2025 National Youth Games scheduled to take place in Asaba, Delta State from August 29 to September 6, 2025. According to the National Sports Commission, the turnout reflects both the growing scale of the Games and the central role the competition continues to play in developing Nigeria's next generation of athletes. The breakdown of registered participants shows that 4,961 athletes will compete across disciplines, supported by 635 coaches, 386 team officials, and 400 state delegates. However, Gombe State has yet to finalize DRM procedures for its 74-member delegation. The organizers said their inclusion would not affect the overall tally of 6,382 confirmed participants. A total of 37 sporting events will be contested during the 9-day competition, ranging from athletics to other major events. Well, we'll take a short break. When we return, we'll talk about more conversations in the world of sports. Well, finally, from the world of football, Manchester United sank to a new low under Ruben Amorim by getting eliminated by 4th-tier Grimsby Town after a marathon penalty shootout in the second round of the English League Cup yesterday. Grimsby won a dramatic shootout 12-11 at the 9,000 capacity Blundell Park. With Bram Buemo missing the decisive penalty, United needed late goals by Buemo and Harry Maguire just to salvage a 2-2 draw in regulation time, having trailed 2-0 at half-time. It will go down as one of the most embarrassing results in United's history and leaves the team winless in 3 games so far this campaign, after a woeful 15th-place finish in the Premier League last season. The result piles more pressure on Amorim, who came into the game with 16 wins from his 44th matches in charge of United after being hired last November. But that's all we have for you in Sports Wrap Up at this time. We'll take a very short break. When we return, we'll have an extensive conversation as it has to do with more sports on the show. Do stay with us.
Get ready for the exciting showdown, the biggest names, the toughest competition, and the most thrilling moments. From the gridiron to hardwood and from the pitch to the track, join us for Sports Central, the most electrifying sports program on television, every weekday from 11 a.m. to 12 noon on Spectrum Television. Sports Central, your home for sports.
Broadening your horizon is what every living being not only genuinely desires, but heartily pursues and intentionally invests in. For in the gathering of men, only those whose minds are in tune with the dynamics of the past, present, and future innovations, inventions, politics, and governance are respected. We are Spectrum Television, and broadening your horizon is our obsession. Risk on your decoder now to connect Spectrum Television on the frequency 12589, symbol rate 26250. That is frequency 12589, symbol rate 26250. Polarization horizontal, and join our online community at spectrumtvlive.ng. For further enquiries, please call 0704 158 5642 or 0704 541 7707. Spectrum Television, broadening your horizon.
Hello, good morning. Welcome to another exciting time. We talk about the best of stories in the world of sports. It is Sports Central, and my name is Blyden Ukem. Well, the guys are seated right here with me, ready for the talking point. And I trust your day has been fantastic so far. And we're back as if we never left. And in Sports Central, we'll talk about the key features around the world of sports. A part of the conversation, we'll better find for Danny Medvedev a hefty fine after US Open meltdown. He was so upset in that game against Bonzi that the umpire, not just the umpire, the cameraman Accra came in, somewhat interfered start of the game, and was offended about it. And also talked about Raleigh Opelha, talking about the umpire, saying that earlier this year that the umpire was the worst in ATP. And well, multiple conversation, we'll also look at the games that took place yesterday. Definitely know where I'm going. Manchester United against Grimsby Town. A sad story for Manchester United, down 2-0. Had to rally back, but a penalty shootout and Grimsby won it. Ruben Amorim has been a prophet for Manchester United. Last season he said the team will suffer. At the end of it, after the suffering, he said the glory days are coming. But the start of this season, he also said United are not ready for European competition. No one had lost early in any competition that could take them to Europe. Well, Fonitina, good morning. So good to see you. I had to start with you because in that we United talks in this one. Good morning. So good to see you.
Good morning. Good day to be back on the show talking about the US Open, all the surroundings there. We're talking about Jelena Ostapenko involved in a little fracas with the lady Townsend, and they had a little heated row and resulted to some racial slurs. But Townsend, talking about the lady who was at the receiving end of that, said there was no racial undertone to it, that she's not bothered. But at the end of it, I think in the coming days we'd see a little bit of some investigation into all of it.
Well, quite surprising, funny thing, I had to talk about US Open and not start with a barrage from Manchester United. David, good morning. So good to see you. I know you're not happy the way things are at Manchester United.
Well, why wouldn't I be happy? I'm not, I am not the Manchester United. The fans should be worried, not me. No, the fans should be worried.
You sold all your stake.
Ratcliffe took it from me, so they should have it. An exciting time to return on the show this Friday morning. Okay. Definitely quite happy to be back.
Which we're definitely quite happy to be back. Let's get into some of the details at second place in the world of tennis, and we'll definitely start with this one that has to do with Danny Medvedev being given a hefty fine after US meltdown. According to reports we're hearing, a 29-year-old was knocked out of Grand Slam tournament, and we saw that spark against Bonzi that took place, and that he accused the umpire, accused the cameraman Akraf, and I heard that the cameraman was his clearance was suspended for the US. Clearance was suspended for the US Open. But it's a story for Danny Medvedev, and he's been fined £31,500 by the United States Tennis Association. He was docked $30,000 of unsportsmanlike behavior and another $12,500 for obliterating rackets against a chair. In simple English, hitting the rackets against a chair. So many times he did that. But as a story, we'll move ahead and talk about the US Open proper and the games that took place. Definitely, Carlos Alcaraz got a victory, a comfortable victory to advance to the US Open third round in this one. And makes all the difference. We'll talk about a 6-1, 6-love, a 6-3 victory against Belushi. Well, to be David, Carlos Alcaraz, he's been in fine form at the US Open. Many expectations for the Spaniard international, but many would argue he's not faced a big superstar yet.
Well, I think it's still early days. That's why we're still having, of course, these top players not facing much superstars. So, there have always been postulations of, superstars meeting themselves at the semis, the quarterfinals, and even the finals. So I think at the moment, rosy run of form for Carlos Alcaraz. But I think if there is anything that has actually changed so far for him at the US Open, has been the very fact that just from the go, he's been hitting the ground running, winning on clean sets, not dropping sets, has actually been the story of Carlos Alcaraz. Maybe because he's newly looked Carlos Alcaraz due to his hairstyle this time around, changing the narrative for him. But it looks more serious and comfortable, especially, taking his opponent. Still early days. We're talking about the third round of the competition. The more we progress, we definitely see, more top players face each other. And that would be where we definitely talk about the business end of the US Open. But at the moment, I think the man is actually, of course, keeping things calm and dominating opponents.
Well, keeping things calm and dominating opponents. I've spoken about Carlos Alcaraz and this one. All the games that took place. Part of the game we'll see today would be Jack Draper taking on Bergs of Germany. When Ben Shelton of the United States of America got a victory against Spaniard Carreno, a 6-4, 6-2, 6 6-4 victory for Ben Shelton of the United States of America, a six-headed player at this competition at Flushing Meadows. Meanwhile, Boya would take on Andrei Rublev today. Rublev seeded 15, Boya not seeded, a U.S. player, and Lorenzo Musetti against Goffin of Germany also taking on the battle. All taking place today anyway. Well, let's go to further conversation in it. Part of the conversation would be that Novak Djokovic is struggling a bit at the US Open. Unfortunately, now the three guys are always there now. It seems like age is beginning to catch up with Novak Djokovic. But as long as he's still in the tournament, when I struggles to get a victory, victory is victory at the end of it. And many expectations are from them. A player that many accrue to be the best player in the history of tennis.
Well, I think most people are just placing his performances side by side with what we're having from Carlos Alcaraz, because they touted to be
probably what he's done at the past.
No, it's just comparing what he's doing with what Carlos Alcaraz is, because they're going to meet at the semi-final. So if Carlos Alcaraz is doing so well and Djokovic is struggling, it means that when they face each other, maybe Carlos Alcaraz would be the favorite for this particular one, because this year they met earlier. I think that was at one of the first Grand Slams of the year, one of the early Grand Slams, and he defeated Carlos Alcaraz. So right now, looks like Carlos Alcaraz seems to have the upper hand. And going into the further rounds of this particular competition, I think Djokovic would have to increase and improve on his performance, because what he's doing so far against the lower ranked opponents, it would not suffice when he gets to face a top player like Carlos Alcaraz, and he definitely has to do better. He has to remove and reduce some of the struggles we're seeing from him at the moment.
Have to reduce some of the struggles we're seeing from him, because the early start of the game, you're struggling. What happens when they get into difficult parts of this tournament? And now we move to the women's game, and it would be still at the U.S. Open, talking about Aryna Sabalenka, world #1, continuing a tie-break success at the U.S. Open. Recently, she broke a record of tie-breaks, and now she's adding up the number in this one at the U.S. Open. Aryna Sabalenka, world #1, beating Kudermetova, a 7-6, a 6-2 victory at the end of it. Well, there were other players that performed quite well, the likes of Lila Fernandez, after losing the first set, got a victory 6-3, 6-2 against Jaguenot of France in this one. And Vondrousova also getting a victory, a straight set victory against Kessler of United States of America, a 7-6, 6-2 victory. And some possible games we're looking at. Jasmine Paolini will take on Jovic of US in this one. Quite interesting when you hear so many different names being US players, and you begin to wonder what happens naturalizing and playing for the United States of America. But Maria Sakkari will be taking on Bonda. But let's talk about Aryna Sabalenka, the way she's flying with flying colors at the U.S. Open. Yeah, many would still say early days, but getting further interesting.
I think she's also showing signs why she's a defending champion of the U.S. Open. And I think that's what, of course, a defending champion should do. As a matter of fact, setting the examples for others to follow. I think the WTA race for who finished world #1 isn't as heated as what we're seeing at the ATP category. But I think because the more Swiatek is beginning to play that catch up with Sabalenka, Sabalenka is also improving in terms of winning titles, and I think that's where she is at the moment. She doesn't even feel pressure. I must tell you.
She's already won title this year anyway.
You also look at of course what's her name now. You also look at our opponents who's also chasing that world #1 spot. She's not also winning titles as many as possible, as one would think about.
Yeah, so, not many, but at least better than Aryna Sabalenka.
Anyway. She's won too. So I'm also looking at Sabalenka now at the moment, trying to defend the US Open title. Well, I feel there will be a lot of pressure when she gets through that finishing line. Maybe talk about the semis and the quarterfinals.
It's always defending point to defend.
Yeah, very difficult to defend, definitely. So it will be, of course, something we'll see. It will be quite progressional. Just like you said, still early days. She hasn't really had a big test yet at the US Open. So until we get there, then we'll definitely know whether she's serious to defend or not.
Well, until we get there, we got to talk about whether she'll be serious about defending or not, until David says in this one. Meanwhile, Emma Raducanu halted Jen's run to return to the US Open third round, and Boska takes down Ella to reach US Open third round for the first time. Jelena Ostapenko had some fracas with Townsend at the US Open heated exchange, as the Townsend got a victory in front. Talked about it quite early, and there were some slow words in that argument. Jelena Ostapenko telling Townsend she's not educated, and also saying that she's not a very good professional tennis player, but she got a victory. That's what matters at the end of it. And quickly, let's switch gear before we talk about athletics. We're going to the youth games. It's taking place starting tomorrow. Lots of contingents being part of it, and I will be part of the conversation to talk about as my guest joins the conversation this morning. Kanema Okofre joins the conversation looking at a postulation that's taking place at the youth game. Well, while we're anticipating the joining of a Kanema Okofre, David, I'll start with you on this one because the youth game gets to start tomorrow. Numbers of athletes that are participating and officials that are participating, a record 6,382 contingents in this.
Yeah. A
big one in terms of population and numbers, but Delta State being defending champions, big expectations in this. And Team Aquabum had left Oyo since Tuesdays in preparation for this one.
Well, I think it's going to be something very exciting to see. I'm liking the the theatrics and everything surrounding this particular youth games, looking very, very nice, to the eyes and everyone watching, to the media as well. But I just want to see how it can transcend to, the performance by the different athletes when the youth game starts proper. We've seen a lot of, before the Akwa Ibom athletes left, the state, the commissioner, the governor, through the commissioner, had tasked them to go out there and represent Akwa Ibom very well. And he, I'm sure he's going to, reward most of them who can do very well when they embark in a season of getting rewards as a sportsman and sportwomen. So definitely something to look forward to. One thing that strikes me about youth festivals like this is always the fact that we have to use it to raise talent. You are not just taking this talent there and then you leaving them after the competition. What happens after this competition? What happens to those talent that you get to pinpoint after they've done their best for the country and for the states as well? I feel this particular time around there should be a different way to how things are done, because we've had youth festivals over and over and over again. We cannot really talk about plenty athletes we've seen who've gotten through the youth system, and now we're able to be put into the proper system of athletics in Nigeria. So I just hope we're going to have a different story this time around. The commissioner who is on the screen now has talked a lot about how to get good results for the states. It's not just about getting good results. What happens to athletes who fall beyond, finishing at the podium place? An athlete can finish 5th, but still the future is quite bright for the athlete because they are quite very young. So if you keep investing in them, I think the states would always have some sort of return at a point. These athletes maybe 15, 16, talking about 12, 14. So as it now, if you can start now to actually inculcate the spirit of discipline and also good sportsmanship, and I think 5 years to come, 7 years to come, the future of Nigeria at the Olympics, the future of Nigeria at the Commonwealth Games is quite, in good hands, because what we have here, 6,382 athletes. Come on, I think out of those 6,000, if you can have 1,000 good athletes, that's good enough for Nigeria.
Oh, that's good enough for Nigeria. Now then, the Commissioner of Sports and Aquabum, as you saw there, was speaking as the players and the athletes were moving to Asaba and representing the governor. Let's get to hear the speech from Commissioner of Sports and Aquabum, Elder Paul Bassi, speaking to the athletes and looking forward to the youth games.
Representing His Excellency, who has mandated is under 15. Some of them are 12, some of them are 13. They need all the discipline they can get. They need guidance, they need prayers.
Okay.
And most importantly, I've told them
so
that sports is a pedestal to better things. Mostly, children of the poor are to get what they could not get in life, in terms of money, in terms of stardom. You live as Saba, you do well. The next thing, you're in the national camp, you're in Lagos, you're in Abuja. From Abuja, you're going abroad. Therefore, they must focus. They should not allow anything to distract them. They must obey their coaches and be very, very disciplined. For me, that is just the simple message that His Excellency has happened to tell them. Let them be disciplined. Let them be focused. They shouldn't allow anything to distract them. Let them know that this is the beginning of greater things to come. And then.
All right. Well, the video taken on the field from the Commissioner of Sports of Aquabo, a little noisy background at the end of it, but that's the real thing, the reality of it. While you're on ground, it is beautiful to hear the Commissioner talking to those athletes as they're moving to Asaba in preparation for the youth games. Well, we're back at it. Carabao Cup joins the conversation, a known journalist when it has to do in particular with grassroots sports. And when you talk about grassroots sport, also taking center stage, his area of discipline, you might want to say, cricket also being a specialty for him. Carabao Cup joins the conversation this morning. Carabao Cup, good morning. So good to have you talking sports today. All right, you cannot hear the voice of Carabao Cup there. Good to have you join the conversation. Well, let's start a conversation from the youth games that will be starting tomorrow. We've seen the numbers, we've seen the population, we've seen it taking place at Asaba. And Delta State has been a dominant figure at the youth games in particular. Other teams, states rather, have been trying to battle and see how to upset them. Talking about the likes of Ondo, Lagos, Edo, and the rest of them. But Team Akwa Ibom, let's start from there. Last youth game, we saw the performance of Team Akwa Ibom not so good, but now we're looking at what would add up for them. Early preparation, they say. I was speaking to you this morning, you said they started early, traveled so early. What are we expecting from Team Akwa Ibom? Well, many expectations from there for you regarding Team Akwa Ibom. Part of the conversation that we've really talked about at youth games has always been the fact that sometimes it's not all about winning the titles. Definitely, some people say in sport it has to be competitive, but it's all about harnessing the talent that we've seen. So, from a Akwa Ibom perspective, which area do you think they've gotten strength, more pool of talent, whether we win it or not, or they go all out to win all the medals or not? But in terms of a pool of talent that can be discovered, which area from Akwa Ibom State do you think could be dominant in that? Just to add before the guys in the studio also get to ask some questions in that regard, part of the conversation from Team Akwa Ibom we've had before now has been that of welfare, early struggle. It seemed like that has been put to rest at this time out, moving to the youth game, early preparation, Elder Paul Bassi making sure things are in place for them. Well, let's talk about the youth game proper. Part of the struggles has been age cheating. In football, we see it happen all the time, and in other sports, because before now, a player gets to join or an athlete gets to join a competition as a youth, but there's a flag regarding that age. What's the situation now? Because they say that 20 and the next 5 years they're nowhere to be found because age have caught up with them. At this particular youth game across the country, age cheating, what is the state in it, and what has been the solution to it?
So, if the person can make somebody now who is coaching or looking for
Well, Kanimoko Fresh, Youth is speaking. Good morning to you. Well, so many games expected at the National Youth Games. Just like you've mentioned, Team Akwa Ibom arriving early at the venue. Now, can you confirm to us whether Team Akwa Ibom will be participating in all these major sporting activities at the National Youth Games?
All right, Kanimoko Fresh, fantastic having you be part of a conversation. We'll get to talk even further as the games unfold beginning tomorrow. Hopefully you get to join tomorrow. And we'll also talk about a cricket World Cup and the expectations that comes with it tomorrow. After now, we'll go on a quick break. Thank you for being a part of the show. All right, I will talk about it tomorrow. Thank you for being a part of it.
Thank you.
All right, quickly we'll go on a quick break, and when we're back, it will be football stories all around the world. Looking at what happened to Manchester United at the Nigerian Premier Football League, as Niger Tornadoes defeated Nasarawa United, and all the transfer talking points in the world of football. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back at Sports Central. My name is Bladen Kumutua David Funington has showed me for company. I'm ready to talk about all the details that has to do with football stories. We're done with other sports, and now the mother of all sports, football, definitely from a Nigerian point of view, taking center stage. While we begin a conversation in the world of football, looking at the 2026 World Cup qualifiers, where Nigeria will be taking on Rwanda as well as South Africa. Well, one anxious moment for many Nigerians would be the fact that Stanley Nwabali, the goalkeeper of the side, is undergoing medical fitness, and hopefully he could appear for the side. Well, the details is that a 29-year-old was stretchered off in the 35th minute during Chippa United's 1-0 defeat to Richards Bay on Tuesday, raising fears of a potential serious injury. So he's battling to recover to play for that side, Chippa United against Orlando Pirates on Sunday, and hopefully also to be fit to feature for Nigeria the 2026 FIFA World Cup qualifiers against Rwanda and South Africa. Well, to be David, I'll start with you on this one. Definitely, I remember the last time out we had such fear about a goalkeeper in Nigeria was at the Nations Cup, and where Stanley Nwabali was taken off. It was a debut at the Nations Cup, but performed quite well. Taken off, and the other keeper now, Zaha, was brought in. I remember the commentary on it while talking about it. Nigerians were having their heart in their hands. And now there's no Maduka Okoye because of a ban at Udinese, and other goalkeepers not really being tested. a possibility of Stanley Nwabali missing out of the FIFA Club World Cup FIFA World Cup qualifiers?
Well, I think it will be so difficult for Eric Sekuchel to field his lads without Stanley Nwabali, #1 goalkeeper for the national team at the moment. Tested, maybe to a large extent trusted as well.
Absolutely.
So, and,
I was wondering if you say tested, but not really trusted.
So you also look at other options we've had. We've not tested them, as a matter of fact, even in friendly matches. Yeah. And that's why the need always beckons when you have friendly matches. I mean, test other players. So I think at the moment, since many Nigerians are of the opinion we do not stand a chance of qualifying for the FIFA World Cup, I do not think they should be worried as much as whether this man is fit or not to play this particular encounter. We should just come back, play the games that are left. 4 games, as a matter of fact.
4 games, as a matter of fact. It's where David is saying, well, not to worry so much whether he plays or not. It's a slim chance for Nigeria, but some people would argue in that regard. I think Funny Tina might want to argue in that regard, but let's move on, Fun. You have your own to bite anyway. And what about the fact that Accordams, I get his first name is Jerome Accordams, who recently moved from Montpellier to Sevilla and was in the provisional list of Eric Sekuchel for the Super Eagles game against South Africa and Rwanda, and he's gotten injured in the last game, and I hear he's been trying to make up time, but it wouldn't happen for the next game of Sevilla against Girona. Is that concern for him? Accordams, and it's been something of an impending injury for the 25-year-old Accordam, and had a chance to debut for Nigeria at the senior level. It's not going to happen. A Sevilla player played for the Flying Eagles at the time.
Well, I think it's quite worrisome for Accordam, even for the Super Eagles of Nigeria now, because I think we're in good hands with the likes of Victor Osimhen. But for his club career, last season he was out injured for quite a long time, and then this season he was expected to start it right from the start, played the first 2 games, and now we're going to see him miss the next game.
And just came back from injury.
Exactly. So I think it's quite sad for him, because when you become an injury-prone player, you're not a native of the land like a Spanish player. Trust me, your place in that squad is always going to be up for grabs. So I'm just a little bit worried about the man. He has the potential, has the talent. Top scorer for Montpellier in the French League when they played in the French League. So definitely a player who knows how to score goals. Now at Sevilla, maybe just different terrain. Now the injury starts coming in. Let's just hope it stops at a point.
Let's hope it stops at that point. What's here from a Nigerian point of view? A key message from a key club would be a Kun Caliphate FC of Owerri. Well, they've come out of Imo State, or anywhere they've come out Owerri in Imo State. I think that's the right order, not Imo State, Owerri in Imo State, absolutely. Has issued an urgent appeal for the financial support as the club prepares for the 2025-2026 Nigeria Premier Football League season. I hear some humongous numbers they're looking forward to, and quite expensive, about 1 billion naira they're looking for financial support now, and quite expensive to run the Nigerian Premier Football League. To David, come on, travel expenses, bonuses, and all of that are quite concerning. But the club has come out and said, please help us in it.
I don't know who they're crying for. I honestly do not know who they're crying
looking
for.
For investors, come on.
Private investors, but that should have been done long time when they actually knew the status in the NPFL.
Probably the strategy not worked out. They're coming public now and say, come on, we've been asking you privately, and now come out and support the team.
No, obviously I think they're actually stuck at the moment because the league have already started. Maybe if they raise this concern, the NPFL would have actually find a way, or maybe sell their slot or in the MPFL and give it to other teams that are actually ready to play in the top tier of Nigerian football. We know how difficult it is for a privately owned team to run seemingly like Remo Stars without problems at top tier football in Nigeria.
You have to have hard currency.
I mean, it's very difficult. So
Remo Stars is working with hard currency.
I understand them at the moment. It's not easy to play football right here in this country.
And not easy at all to play football right there in this country. I mean, while the Nigerian Premier Football League took center stage yesterday, it was Niger Tornadoes beating Nasarawa United, completing match day 1. And finally, a conclusion of it. I'm going to just have about before you get to talk about the stories now. You saw match day 1 of the Nigerian Premier Football League. What do you make of it so far?
Well, I think the newly promoted sides are doing quite well. We didn't have any defeats for any of them. Balao FC, were held by Imba United to a goalless draw at home. Some would say maybe a bad result, but against a top team like Imba Football Club, I think they really did well. And we also saw Kun Khalifa, who are asking for help now. They went away from home and also got a draw in their match. Wiki Choice as well at home and defeated their opponent. So I think we're going to see maybe one newly promoted side doing quite well. We've always had a newly promoted side doing well. Remember 2015, Dakar United were known as the Giant Killers, finishing the top half of the table. We've had Doma United at the point. Last season we had the Ikorodu City. So probably this is another season where we see a newly promoted side do quite well in the NPFL.
And what I see is an expectations for newly promoted side. At the end of it, some of them will also fall by the wayside anyway. It's basically what comes with the world of football. And quickly to the EFL Cup, one that really stood out for me, it was Manchester United suffering historic upset to a 4th-tier side at Grimsby Football Club in the Carabao Cup. Well, we'll talk about that with you now. I know we talked about the introductory aspect of it now. Manchester United, Grimsby scored 2 goals first. Pim, the goalkeeper of the side, was quite well. And you see this picture of Mbebo missing that final penalty. How many penalties it was?
12 shootouts. 13.
13.
Okay, we Grimsby scored 12.
Yeah, we had some misses.
Yeah.
13, 12. 2 misses at the
12,
end of it.
12, 11, but 13 penalties in total.
Okay, yeah. Unfortunately, you get confused. But it's basically what it is, because which David already said 12, he said 13. But it's basically what it is. Disappointment continues for Manchester United. Ruben Amorim has come out and said the team, Grimsby deserved to win it. Massive win for Grimsby Football Club.
The way he sounded yesterday, I just feel him actually, of course, succumb to the heat and maybe resign from being a Manchester United coach, because the pressure now becomes even more intense. I mean, if you cannot win a 4th-tier team in English football, that means you don't even deserve to win any Premier League team, of course, this particular season. So I look at Manchester United, I look at the starters, Zesco, Amad Diallo. I mean, a whole lot of them are starters. Yeah. Kobe Mino started. Top so players. There were no excuse whatsoever.
Even Bruno Fernandes had to come in.
So I look at
the superstars.
I look at the Manchester United squad now. I think I still blame Ruben Amorim to a large extent. The inability to, of course, look at other options when your first option is not working is what is haunting him at the moment.
What option are you talking about?
I mean, the 5 defenders against Grimsby. Against a 4-team side, 5 defenders.
Well, that's the system he's stuck with.
That's the system, and that's why he's not been producing results.
Well,
unfortunately,
it just reminds me of something. I remember during the preseason, I told Fontina something during the preseason. Manchester United were winning games. Fontina was all smiling. It's friendly match preseason.
You're playing against a 4th-tier side, and you're using 5 defenders.
Fontina maybe beginning to take me seriously sometimes when I point these things to you.
I think UT said we can blame Ruben Amorim to a large extent. I blame him to full extent, because I feel the man is quite inadequate. He's quite incompetent at Manchester United. At a big team like Manchester United should be able to have a plan B, even a plan C. I cannot count how many times I saw Pep Guardiola change the system last season. That's why he was able to finish in the top 4 despite all the struggles. If Pep Guardiola was Ruben Amorim, probably would have seen Manchester City finishing 10th or 9th with the struggles they had last season. So I think Ruben Amorim has to either put on his big boys boots or leave the club.
Well, they have to find a way to give more time to football stories, definitely, but because we're set to close. Meanwhile, Chelsea are closing in on a transfer for Manchester United. Alejandro Garnacho, we hear about £35 million tabled and 5 on add-ons, and would be paid in 2 installments from Chelsea in that regard. Meanwhile, Tottenham Hotspur targeting Sevilla to remain at target Sevilla to remain at Manchester City. If this gets to happen, that also means that look, man, the conversation about City being interested in him will also stall. Hugo Ekitike snubbed by France national team despite strong Liverpool start. Many argue he should be there. Others said maybe he's not done enough to be there. I mean, while Ports is set for 2025-2026 Champions League draw, at no point talking about all the Ports. We'll talk about the draw after today when the draw is out in the new format of the Champions League. AC Milan have entered the race for Chelsea, Christopher Nkunku, we hear, and Newcastle are to return with an improved offer of £60 million for Jurgen Strand Larsen. Meanwhile, Wolverhampton Wanderers are interested in getting striker Tolu Orokodare. Is that conversation? Well, guys, here we draw the curtain. Parting shots with David Fonitina. We bounce.
Well, we'll return tomorrow.
Lots of Nigerians with rumors, transfer rumors. I'm tired. They should go to a football club already.
All right, but they're already staying in a football club anyway. It's basically what it is. You know, they go out and stay. But we draw the curtain here. Thank you for being a part of it. My name is Bladen Kim. Alongside the crew, we say, ciao, ciao.